Never have I ever locked myself out of my own car in a deserted parking lot at the beach at 8 a.m. Oh, wait, no, I just did that the other day.
That feeling when you bite into a pickle thinking it's the savory dill kind. Sweet pickle lovers, I don't even know you.
That feeling when your neighbor texts you to ask if you can smell that gas leak that he's also smelling.
Boy, a fox left a pile of poop on my doormat. Now that's a warm welcome.
Really is. Have such a good day. Welcome back to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just that. It is episode 109.
Woo woo.
I'm Sarah Lane here
And
with,
I'm
who are you?
Heather Frank. Surprise,
yeah,
surprise.
I love
I'm
her.
dropping in.
She's great. One of my favorites.
Are you guys staying in or going out? Are you masked or unmasked? Are you happy or sad? You know what? No matter what you are today, it is all good. We welcome you to our
We sure
show.
do. We sure do. It's funny you
humble little
mentioned
show.
masks, Heather, because I've been kind of a social butterfly lately, and masks haven't been involved. This is, I mean, more or less kind of outdoor stuff, but hanging out with friends, people are in town. I had a massage last week that I haven't had a professional massage in years and years. And you know, all of these things where it was not that long ago that I wouldn't even dream of not having a mask with me, or at least having like 3 in like various pockets, you know, and like in the glove box of my car and kind of thing. And I don't know if that will last. Here in California, depending on where you live, things are somewhat iffy. Very, very iffy in lots of parts of the world. It's not just my state, our state, Heather. But yeah, I've been appreciating the freedom that comes with life a lot, and I realize that it is precious and fleeting.
It really is. You said it. And yeah, I mean, the freedom of feeling it was so funny. I had the same experience that I had, like, I don't know, I guess when we first demasked, but I saw someone I had never seen her mouth or her face, and I almost didn't recognize her. It was so wild. I had never, ever seen her with her mask off. But I did this first time, and it's just, there's so many levels of liberation. It's not just your own personal liberation of like not wearing something on your face, but yeah, it's like this freedom that you have with other people and communicating and feeling one with the world, you know? It's feeling the breeze on your cheeks. It's a whole thing. Yeah, and you know what? This is a good lesson, I think, for all of us that, you know, not to take things for granted, the little things, just being able to drink clean water and eat good food and be healthy and all the things that we forget about because we're so busy with life and all these super important things. But it is so true, this newly liberated feeling, and I think we should all be indulging in that right now.
And it, you know, it might not last. I
It
don't
might
know.
not.
When you know, I'm on the massage table, I'm so excited, right? It's like body ultimate indulgence. You know, massages aren't free, right? And I had found this gal. She and I actually had gotten to know each other because both of our dogs like to play together, you know, and hung out with her several times before we really got to talking about like what we did for work. So I found out that she was a massage therapist, and she has actually like quite a pedigree and has been doing it a long time, and is, you know, super good at what she does. And so when I went in there, I was just like, I felt like it was like my birthday, and this was my big present, you know, kind of thing.
Totally.
So I love massages. I get, you know, I either can't afford it regularly, or I just kind of go like, yeah, it's nice, but I don't have time right now. You know, I don't
totally.
really need to lay there for an hour kind of thing, which is like such BS. I totally do. I should go once a month
You
and just
totally
like
do.
figure out how to pay for it. But I, you know, had walked in, and, you know, I'm on the table, and we're kind of, you know, just sort of lightly chatting as you do sometimes, you know, when you're getting a massage. I mean, you can or you can't. And I thought at some point, like in the 90 minutes that I had scheduled for myself, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about wearing a mask. Now, if I were to go to the doctor's office, I would totally wear one. It's like, that's still something that you have to do. And I said to her, I'm really sorry. I didn't even think about that. I hope that, didn't throw you off. And she goes, well, I'm not wearing a mask either. Would you like me to? That would be totally fine. And I said, no, it's totally, I'm the one who's saying sorry. I'm not mad at you. That wasn't like some weird, like passive aggressive way to get you to wear a mask. We kind of both laughed and relaxed. And she said, yeah, I'm just not sure, and then I kind of said something like, I really like this, what you've done with the place, because she had opened up a new, physical location, and I don't even know what it was before, nothing. And she goes, yeah, I'm really happy here. I hope, it doesn't get shut down. And after all of that mask talk, I go, why? And I'm thinking in my head, like, do you not have like a massage permit, or, is this some like underground operation I'm part of? And she says, well, because of Delta. And I went, oh, of course. It's like how quickly we forget,
Oh, God,
it's
amazing.
like, I was like, yeah, cool, life, we're back, baby. And it's like, let's all
Nope, new
take
strain.
let's just take things day by
Down
day,
a
one day at a
notch.
time.
Sure.
One day at a
Yeah,
time.
and you kind of have to do that in general. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've come to terms with that whole mentality, I guess. And maybe it was triggered because of going into like this quarantine. But I do think that it is often you have to take life one day at a time. You just don't really know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you might as
Yeah.
well enjoy the moment, right, Sarah?
That's right. Yeah, I like looking forward to things down the road, of course. I mean, that's great fun, but it really is, what's the term? Marathon, not a sprint.
Yes.
Just get through the day.
Seriously. That's it's like
Just
today's
get
one of
through
those
the day.
days, let me tell you.
Oh man, yeah.
So did you have any days this week that stuck out for you? Sarah? Anything good, anything bad, any nightmare days? We want to hear about it.
Funny you should ask, Heather. I know we kind of like to catch each other and everyone else that's listening. Hi, everyone else, up on our weeks, and I had a doozy of a week this last week. I really did lock myself out of my car at the beach alone. Well, I wasn't alone. I was with my dog, who was super thirsty, and the water was in the locked car. It was
Oh, no.
absolute meltdown. I will spare you the details. Some of you DTNS and Good Day Internet listeners have already heard the story. I'm just a big old dummy is the long and short of it. I'll get into it some other time. I'll tell the story in Discord.
Well, I'd like to hear the story. Yeah, so please tell it in Discord.
I'll tell the Discord story, by the way, if you want to join our Discord and you haven't already, become
No
a
missing
patron.
out.
Patreon.com/have such a good day to find out more about it. But we'll get to that later. I did have a very interesting day, Heather, and I like to call it the ultimate dog day of summer. We are in the summertime, certainly here in the Northern Hemisphere. And Dog Days of Summer, obviously a term that we know. I don't really even know why we call it that, but it's a term. I also have a dog, so I thought, okay, this is a great title for this hellish day that I had. This is just a few days ago. It was before the weekend, so it was a weekday. Weekdays are busy. It's like I got a schedule, I got shows to do, I'm a podcaster, all the things. So... and what I do, I would say probably about once a week, if, just unless there's some issue, and I need to check it more often, but at least once a week, I log into, my bank online and I just look through all my transactions just to make sure nothing stands out like, what was that? Or, did that check clear like I expected it to? Oh, just a little housekeeping.
Sure.
And so and this is really early. It's, I've just gotten up. I just put my contacts in. I haven't even really had coffee yet. I'm barely alive. And I log in and I look, and there's a couple kind of just funny transactions, not for a ton of money, but stuff where I'm like, I don't know what that is. It doesn't make sense. And I use Bank of America, and it's like the online banking portal is, it's pretty robust, but there's only so much information you're going to get about any transaction before you just need to call them, if you suspect fraud or whatever. I mean, you could just shut everything down online, but, I feel like it's good to get someone on the phone. So I'm like, I should probably get somebody on the phone, just for peace of mind. So I'm on the phone, and and I'm on hold, right? Because of course, like, I don't know, I guess the East Coast, everybody was already calling Bank of America today or that day. So it's like, I've got a little bit of a wait, no big deal. But then Otis, the dog, starts doing his I'm about to barf thing, where he's like, heave, 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 and I sort of don't notice it at first because I'm not looking at him because he's not making much noise, but he's doing the heave thing. And finally I notice, and it's like at that moment, I don't know what it's going to be, right? It could just be sort of like some aggressive slobber. Sometimes that's all it is, or it could be like a tennis ball, that's like lodged in his throat. That's happened more than once. It's very upsetting, or something in between, a big pile of grass. Who knows? So it's like mad dash, unlock the front door, just like throw him onto the porch, right? Just so it doesn't happen on one of my rugs.
Yeah.
And, because we have an Airbnb, I don't just throw him outside and, kind of go about my morning. I only do that when, I'm the only one around, which is rare. So he does his barf thing. I'm on hold while I'm kind of trying to like scrape back to, pull him by the collar so he doesn't go too far and like upset anybody who might see like a barfing dog running around the property. Bank of America person comes online. So I'm like trying to explain, what's going on. And I'm like, hold on, I've got a barfing dog. And she goes, what? I'm like, just hold on. I need to get back to my computer because she's like needed information from me. So I get him back inside, whatever. So I'm kind of talking to her and it turns out like there is some fraud issue and it's a really long story and it's like totally separate. So it was. And I'm like, man, like, that, like, even though sometimes I'll be like, what was that charge? Or what is the, like, I don't understand this thing. Almost always there's an explanation.
Sure.
And that's why because I so often will be like, I don't know what $13.90 was. And then it turns out, remember you went to the gas station and then you got a couple of sparkling waters. It's like, oh yeah.
I do the same
And that
thing.
was separate from the transaction where I was getting my gas. Okay. So just that kind of stuff. But no, this time it was fraud, which is like, oh man. So at that point, Otis is kind of doing his like barfy thing again. And I was like, I gotta get a leash on him and we're just going to walk around. Right. The problem is that around my neighborhood, unless I'm at Wi-Fi at my house or someone else's Wi-Fi, like my neighbor or whatever, cell service is horrible. So it's like staying on a phone call with somebody and walking out, in either direction from my house is just like best of luck because it may drop. Not always. But I always try to avoid something like that just because, if you're like talking to somebody, it's like, then they can't hear you saying, hold on, I'll call you back. It just sucks. You know how it is. So I'm like, whatever, we'll just like get as far with Bank of America as I can. And she's like, let me put you on hold and blah, blah, blah. And the music's playing again and that's all good. So we're walking down the street and we just go one way. And all of a sudden, and I've got my Bluetooth headphones in. So I'm on hold. But I can't really hear the outside world all that well, because I'm waiting to talk to somebody. All of a sudden, like kind of like from like the corner of my eye, there's this large dog running toward us from behind, so I scream and Otis freaks out whenever I scream. I mean, I don't scream all that often, but if I were to, he's like, what are you doing? So I scream and the dog kind of like, it's not with anybody. I recognize the dog. It's my neighbor's dog, but she's nowhere to be seen. And it's like, whoa, and it's a pretty nice dog, but it just frightened me because it just came out of nowhere. And also like a large dog running at us could be like super aggressive. You never know. So I'm like trying to get the dog, Jerry, I'm trying to get the dog. Dog is not having it. Probably also because I screamed at him. And so he keeps running ahead of us and just kind of like goes around the bend. And I'm like, what can I do? I mean, there's nothing I can do. I have my own dog, And so I'm just like, oh man. Not even a minute later, a car comes barreling towards us. A woman rolls down the window. There's a kid in the back seat. She goes, did you see a dog? And I'm like, he went that way, just past us. And she's like, thanks. And so she like screeches off, and I'm like, huh, okay, well, that's the direction I'm going in. And like this whole thing is just like, what if there's going to be like some whole incident? You know what I mean? Like it just like, this might end badly. High drama. So I'm like, let's just cut up a different way than we were planning to go. Like, let's just avoid this because there's nothing I can do. And so we start going up this like, it's like this large loop, like up this steep hill. And, I'm still on hold. And miraculously, my hold music's playing and it hasn't cut out yet. And I kind of just am like, in the zone, whatever. We're just walking. Now, the same dog is now running towards us, coming down the hill, which is like, we have not gone that far at this point. The dog has run several miles because there's only one way it could have looped all the way around to now come toward us from the other direction. And I'm like, this time I'm like, holy shit, this dog has been running, like, this dog like ran up a mountain just now. So I'm like, I try to stop again, Jerry, 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 you know, and it kind of stops a little, but then just keeps going. And again, I'm like, I can't, we're going up a steep hill. It's like running down a steep hill after a dog is just like, I'm going to kill myself. So
Good workout.
Sure enough, the same car eventually, she's a little farther behind this time, comes down. I recognize the car at this point, so I'm waving at her, you know. She rolls down the window, and I said, yeah, just went that way. Kids in the back crying, right? Because I'm sure that they're like freaking out, right? Because everyone probably has been saying like, yeah, the dog went that way. I'm like, I swear to God, the dog just passed me. It's just around a couple more bends, is back behind, you know, thank you. So she goes barreling off again. So at that point, I'm like, F it. I hang up with B of A because I'm like, I just can't deal with this anymore. I need to walk in silence, you know? And so we get up to the top of the hill, and there's like houses around. It's like a residential area. It just happens to be like way up above like a main road. Mm-hmm. And there's a guy who's got a little Scotty dog or something, like a little pocket dog, and he's holding the dog in his arm as we pass them, and good morning, and the dog's kind of wiggling and barking at us, and you know, we just sort of, he passes me, I pass him, no big deal. And I go down a little bit farther, and my phone rings, and it's Chewy of Chewy.com, where I get all my dog food, and Chewy.com is like, hi, you know, it's like some woman from Chewy, hi, yeah, we've got like because Otis gets prescription wet food, and it, you know, the vet needs to approve it. Yeah, you don't have any more refills. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys do this to me like every 3 months. Like, like this is crazy. Like, can't like my vet just like give me more refills at once? Like, this food hasn't changed in years. Yeah, it's just like, and you know, and she's like, well, and so I'm kind of trying to like deal with her. All of a sudden, the Scotty dog has gotten loose and is now charging at us, freaking out from behind. I'm on the phone with Chewy, you know, and just like, luckily my Otis, my dog, as big as he is not aggressive towards any dog, especially little dogs, because this little dog had a death wish, you know, just like run over, like, you know, like trying to tear into Otis's legs and stuff. The guy is running to try to get his dog. He's kind of like older and not like running all that fast. And I'm a little worried that he's going to, you know, take a spill. And so he finally gets the dog, you know, and the guy is going like, I am so sorry. And he's trying to like explain something to me. And I'm like, I'm on the phone with Chewy.com. Gotta go, you know, just get away from me. And so we kind of just keep walking down the road a little bit. I get off the phone with Chewy. Otis throws up a tennis ball.
Oh my gosh.
And the story ends there. So after all of that,
dog day of summer,
it's like after it was just like one thing after another that was dog related, where I'm like, there can't be one more thing. And I had forgotten completely about the whole idea that I was walking right then, because I was like, if Otis has to, you know, at least get him outside.
You had forgotten.
So if you, just in case you're like, oh my God, an entire tennis ball, like what a bad mother you are. How could you let this happen? So there are these like, I don't know why they exist, but there are these like mini tennis balls. And I don't know if people actually like play some fun form of tennis with them, or if it's really just
Maybe
like
a cat toy.
I don't think so. I mean, I mean, I guess.
Maybe it's a squash ball.
It looks like it looks just like a tennis ball, you know, fuzzy and, you know, bouncy, but it's just miniature, not as small as a golf ball, somewhere in between the two. And I've seen them around, like, you know, at like dog parks and stuff, and that's what it was. He had somehow swallowed it because it was little, you know, and then it just sat there in his throat, and he threw it up.
He basically saved the best for last.
Oh,
he went through
my
that
God.
whole rigmarole to witness this.
It was
great ending.
It was sort of, honestly, Heather, it was, you know, we've talked about this on the show before, where it's like the comedy of errors is so never ending that I like wasn't even that frazzled. I was just like, what's next?
Oh
Like
yeah,
I'm like
bring it on.
I've got it like a shield. I'm holding it up, and I'm just like I am not gonna break today. I'm just not gonna break. I don't care what you threw at me. There's dogs running at me from all directions, literally. And I still don't know what happened with the neighbor's dog. I really hope that it ended well. But
It's
yeah,
a,
that was a few days ago. There's been no barf since, so I think we're in the
Good,
clear.
good. It
Yeah.
reminds me a lot of, I think I've mentioned the metaphor that my sister uses for like how I tackle all the problems of like this business and just everything. It's that scene with Uma Thurman in Kill Bill, and she's like in with the ninjas, like, in Japan, and she just kind of all these ninjas are coming at her, like hundreds of them. She just, slices their necks and heads off and everything. It reminds me of that. It's like you had so many of these like dog ninjas coming at you, and you kind of almost have to like just, I don't know, let it roll off your back in a way. And it's funny because we initially react so stressed out and so like, but then I don't know, it's a funny process. It's very,
Yeah. I
being
mean,
human, man.
really the icing on the cake was Chewy calling me and being like, "Hi, it's Chewy. So we've got an issue." And I was like, "I know. Oh, no, I know you do, because that's what kind of a dog day of summer this is." I mean, it's like maybe I'll step in dog poop before I get home, which I didn't. So I count that a win.
That is
But
a
it's
win.
like that would have been it was the only thing missing on the little icing on my cake that day. Anyway, so that was a fun day.
You could have had a neighbor yell at you for putting your bag of poop in the wrong
I
can.
could have. And
That could have been the icing on the cake or the cherry on the sundae.
part of the story is we're right in front of that exact house, where the Scotty dog went apeshit on us and tried to attack and maim my large 90-pound dog. It was right outside her house. I should have just flung like a flaming bag of dog poop at her house and just been like, "Not my fault."
Yeah, there's something about that spot, like that. Yeah, you maybe shouldn't go back there.
Yeah, right. I know. Well,
relate to
anyway,
that a lot.
so enough about that. Oh, and by the way, this all happened like before 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, great.
You know what I mean? Just one of those, just like whirlwind where you're just like, "Well, I'm awake now. Okay."
Yep. You're like, I don't
All
even
right.
need coffee.
So I don't know if you had. I hope you don't have. You can't one up me. But did you have a standout day in
Well,
this last glorious week, Heather?
Sarah, I've had many, and I was going to talk about the two really good ones, but I have had a doozy of a week too. I mean, this was the week leading up to the memorial. My truckload of family was coming into town. Every day new people were coming in, and lots of people in the house. Lots of strangers on the property. So there is a lot of dynamics, lots of stuff going on. But I'm going to focus on the positive today because maybe, I don't know, maybe it'll cheer me up. Because it has been kind of a weird day so far. We did have the memorial yesterday. This is over the weekend. And I don't know. I think I want to talk about this other day that I had last week. I know that seems weird because I'm sure there's a lot to say about the memorial, and there definitely is. I'll try to make each one of them kind of brief, and then they'll mesh together. But I want to do one quick update. I know you've all been very worried about me being blacklisted from my favorite podcast. So I want to let you know that it started working again mysteriously. I did not do anything. It just started working. And I don't know, was it a fluke? Maybe a temporary vendetta that was lifted? A hex? Who knows? We'll never know. And it's just going to be filed away in the mysteries of life. And it's going to stay there for now until
I'm glad it worked out well. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe somebody who like works for some ISP somewhere was just like, "That Heather Frank, I'll show her." And then was like, "You know what? I've gone too far. She doesn't deserve this."
I actually like thinking about scenarios like that because it makes it kind of more fun. It's like, that'd be awesome if I was blacklisted. Because like, why? If you come forward, let us know why you would blacklist me. But anyway, I'm back in with Kai. We're hanging out and it's great. But going back to the day of the week that really stood out. I mean, I have had some doozies, that's for sure. But there always are doozies of the week. But this day was so magical. We've had a lot of this June gloom kind of thing where it's cloudy or foggy in the morning. But I know it's July, but I call it the June gloom in July. I think you call it July sky or something. But the
I
sun will
don't
come
know.
out maybe at 2 if you're lucky, more like 3 or 4, and it's like 5, and you're like, great, why even bother? And I've really wanted some sunshine lately, and so I'm like always praying, like, come on, you can do it. And Thursday was such a beautiful sunny day, and it was all hands on deck. It was like my sister, her boyfriend, my boyfriend, our gardener, her husband or partner or whatever you want to call it, and we were all outside. We were mowing and manicuring like the yard for the event, for the big day, and it was so neat, like all of us working together, and it just had such good vibes. I can't explain it. It just was sort of one of those days that the garage door was open, like we were going in and out, and I bought these beautiful flowers. I potted these striped petunias and these asters, and everything was just so like bright and colorful and awesome. And then I basically the highlight of that day was I have been wanting a ring that's not an engagement ring, so don't get too wild out there. But I like the idea of a promise ring, and it's just something that I've always liked. And there was something that I had my eye on for a long time, and my boyfriend tried to drag me outside at the end of the day after a long day of being outside. I was wiped out. I wanted to go in and take a shower and have a glass of wine, and I had already been in the garden. Like I was in every garden like all day. And he's like trying to get me to go to the raspberry garden. Come on, let's get some I just did. I already went there. I was there. I don't want to go back. Well, okay, let's go over here. Let's go to this garden. I'm like, no, but I spent all day in there. I don't want to go back. What is this? What do you want to show me? And I thought he was going to show me like the fence was ripped or, like something, because I'm like the problem solver, like add this to your list, and I was like, I wasn't really in the mood. And he finally kind of dragged me out in between these two dogwood trees that are really magical. And he gave me this ring, and it was this like really, my boyfriend is so good at surprising me. I am honestly, sometimes I am so impressed with the way he will throw me for a loop over and over again until he can surprise me, because he loves surprising. And I know how much you don't like surprises, Sarah, but it was a sweet, sweet
I like
moment.
surprises when they're surprises like that. I mean, that sounds great.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, is like it was one of those, is like a lot of hard work this week, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of great things, kind of the fruits of your labor. Great things came out of it. And I met some wonderful people at the memorial, which was also turned out to be a wonderful day. And I always say in production, I used to always tell my teams this, I think it applies to any industry really. But like if you're organized and you have good pre-production, because that's like the first part of like a production before you start filming, if you are organized and you're a good manager and you can get stuff done, the event itself should go pretty smooth. And that's what happened. And I felt really proud of myself and my sister at leading up to this big thing that we planned at the last minute. And honestly, Sarah, I'm going to send you some pictures because I just haven't really had a chance to look through them. But it was one of those days that, it was foggy in the morning, and, we're out in the garden. It's fine. It's not really cold. So, I mean, I'm wearing a dress. And then around, 2:30, when we were getting everybody to go over to hear the eulogies, the sun came out, and it was so warm and joyous. I mean, it was really a magical day, and I am really grateful. I met some wonderful people that were friends with my dad that I had never met before, particularly a man named Buck, who is my new best friend. He lives up the street. He's a wonderful guy, and we had so many fun conversations about my dad and all the people that went up to talk about my dad. I mean, it was just like so wonderful hearing these stories and how many people loved him. And I have to say, it's like a bittersweet event, and there's a lot of bitter and then there's a lot of sweet. And I do feel like it was worth doing. I think we questioned it for a while because we knew it would be hard. But I'm actually really grateful because it kind of closes a chapter, not in a bad way. I'm never going to be the same again, obviously. But it did help. It helped with the process of getting all of his people together in one place. And so I'm really grateful for that. So I'm off on vacation tomorrow for 2 measly days, but am I going to enjoy the hell out of it? Hell yes.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that.
Thanks.
I'm happy that you had some good stuff. You know, that you had that, you know, that nice ring in the berry patch or
Yeah, I
wherever
have
it
to
ended
show it
up.
to you.
You know, eventually it was given to you. And yeah, navigating friends and family, navigating any amount of people, particularly family.
Yes.
Because everyone's family is crazy. We just know this about all, you know,
All the
everybody.
dysfunction.
All dysfunctional in their own fun, unique, lovable ways. Sometimes more lovable than other times, but yeah, that kind of thing it's stressful because you're throwing a party, right?
Oh, yeah.
Even though it's a specific kind of party, that is what it is. You know, you have to make sure people have enough food and they're comfortable and so and that other person don't get along all that well. So like that's kind of just like you're gonna survey that whole thing.
There's a lot of landmines, potential landmines for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean we've talked about like, you know, the party throwing of funerals on the show before where
pretty
it's
much.
like yeah, you know, and there's emotion. There's
yeah,
you know,
high
whatever
emotion.
emotion people already have, it's like you're gonna see some tears. You know, someone might get fired up about something where you're like, oh my god, this is getting weird. It's just like that's just the nature of big kind of milestone events.
Yeah, it's funny too, because I was like, I've been pretty cool like lately. I feel like I'm so busy with work and I'm not getting too emotional about things. But yeah, when I wrote something for my dad for like we kind of kicked off the eulogy, and I mean, I wrote it and it was something that I've been writing for a while and editing, and I did start crying in the middle, and it was like it came out of nowhere. I wasn't even feeling it come on. And I did get a lot of people say what I said was beautiful and blah, blah, blah. But I was like kind of embarrassed because I wasn't planning on crying in front of all these people. But I know that they understood.
I don't think you should be embarrassed. And I know that feeling where you're just like, it just physiologically happened.
Oh, yeah. It was totally
You know what I
physical.
mean? Like you weren't like that feeling where like your diaphragm starts to sort of like,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of, it's getting wavy, you know, that feeling,
yeah.
or you can hear it in your voice. It's like, yeah, there are times where I'm just like, whoa. I mean, I could have been like, you know, like testifying under oath, you know, like I will not cry. And like, it just like nothing could have stopped it.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
then.
Yeah. No, it's like a runaway train.
It really is.
Kind of like our show.
Yeah, it is. It is. We are. Who sang that song? Runaway Train. God, I did not like that song. It was so popular and it played all the time. Not Sonic Youth.
I don't remember. Oh, maybe it was Sonic Youth.
No, it was definitely not Sonic Youth.
wasn't?
It was. Oh, let me look it up really quick. I have the internet in front of me. Runaway Train never.
Soul
comes.
Asylum, I think. Was it?
Soul Asylum.
I wasn't a
Yeah,
big Soul
you're right.
Asylum fan, but I somehow remember that.
It was just. I don't know.
Well, I pretty much forget
a-
everything, but I remember
It was
that.
a sad song. And so it was like a very popular top 40 song. And every time it would start, people would be like, I love the song. And I'm like, it's all so sad, you know, like these kids that are, you know, escaping bad situations. It was just, I don't know. There are plenty of like depressing songs that I like very much. I just don't like that one. Sorry, Soul Asylum. I'm sure you're all doing great. And it's probably because you listen to the show every week.
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure
You're welcome.
they're somewhere safe and happy. That's what I think.
Yeah. So we haven't talked about kind of what we're absorbing entertainment media style in a while. And I discovered a couple new shows over the last week. And I know people don't like, well, I guess when I say people, I mean me. It's like when someone goes on and on about something that I haven't seen, I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. I mean, you know, there's only so much I want to like hear about how great something is, like until I get to it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I won't. I'll try not to go on and on about it, and stop me if I do. But the first show is not new. It's a couple years old now, but it's new to me, and I've been hearing about it. And it's one of those shows that you hear about, and people go, "Oh my god, it's so funny! It's just so funny!" And I'm like, "Okay, cool." You know, I'll write it down and I'll get to it, because when it comes to comedy, it's like I usually tend to get much more invested in like heavier drama stuff, whether it's like reality or it's fictional. Those are kind of the shows that I get really into. And, comedy is great. And I can think of lots of series that, or comedic series that I've liked in the past, but I'm like, they kind of go on a list sometimes. And I go like I still haven't watched The Good Place, even though I've been hearing for years that like my life is like a third good as it would be if I just watched the show, and I'm like, I'll get there. I'll get to it. There's a back catalog somewhere. I'll find it. Anyway, so a show called I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson is one of those shows. And I started, people would say, you're going to love that show. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll get to it eventually. And I also have been noticing that because I know that Tim Robinson, who's a comedian, who's the main character of the show, although the show is sort of a series of sketch comedy skits, really, very SNL-esque. If you think of, SNL almost more like the commercial skits that they do in between the like live show skits that they actually are doing in the theater. It's a lot like that. So he's in like every skit almost, but then there are a lot of other actors and comedians that are you see them over and over. So it's kind of a crew with like a few little cameos here and there. So I know that he's the guy. Like I know his face because I've just like seen enough about the show. And so I started seeing like these memes pop up on Twitter. It'd be like a screen capture of him just in some like, where there's like a little caption that says something and I have no context. So it's not funny because I don't know what it means because I haven't watched a show. But I started to see enough of them where I'm like, over the weekend, I was like, you know what? Let's just see how this goes. And oh my God, it is so funny. I mean, it is so funny.
Do you think I would like it? Is it my humor?
I'm not sure. I
Okay,
think that
what
you
kind
would,
of humor is it? Like, I mean, you said SNL, but like, is it like
it's
absurd or?
I would say think like the most absurd SNL skits.
Oh, wow.
It's in that region. I mean,
Okay.
some of it is not like so like it's crazy insane. It is SNL-esque enough that I
Kind of
think that
Portlandia-ish?
no,
Okay.
no,
Because those are pretty
Portlandia is
absurd.
They are. You're right. There's something. I think that there are certainly facets of both that are in the show. It is. I think. I don't know. I want you to like it, but I could definitely see where someone's like, yeah, I don't know about this. It was, and I think maybe it was because I was alone, and when I'm watching it, and at first I'm kind of like, because I didn't know anything about it. I thought it was like a half hour like sitcom style. I didn't realize it was these little vignettes. And so I'm, as it starts, I'm sort of like, oh, this format is kind of, like this is like, so I don't even know what I'm watching right now, And a few minutes later, I'm kind of laughing, and the episodes themselves consist of like, I don't know, like 6 sketches, but they go by really quick, So you're on episode 2 pretty quickly, and I'm blowing through and I'm laughing. And I mean, talk about like involuntary crying. I mean, I'm laughing to the point where I'm hysterical and I kind of can't stop laughing.
Oh, wow. I want this.
And you're, that feeling where you're like, I don't even know if I'd be laughing this hard if anyone else was in the room because I'm just really letting it go. I was losing my shit. It's funny. So
That's
I just
great.
want to say that if you've seen the show, actually, it would be great if you've seen the show and you're like, it just wasn't really my kind of humor. I would love to hear about that because I totally recognize that there are certain skits where I laughed harder than others, right? I thought that they were all funny, but there were ones where I'm like, that was exceptionally funny, But I could say where someone would just be like, I didn't get it. Or even if you got it, you're like, it's just so ridiculous, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there has been now season 1, season 2, and season 3 has been renewed. So it's coming in the future. Season 2 is brand new. So I'm just now blowing through that. But I'll say being able to just belly laugh like by yourself is, and there was one skit, I won't give anything away, but there's a skit where there's a dog that's barking, like an agitated dog is barking. And it's funny. And so there's a dog barking like for an extended period of time on the television. And I'm like gasping and laughing. And my dog, Otis, who's in the room, is like stands up and is like, what the fuck is going on? You know, it's like, there's a dog in the TV up there. My mom is freaking out because I probably sound like I'm crying. You know what I mean? To him.
Yeah.
Because I don't like just like laugh like that for extended periods of time.
No.
You know? And he was just like, I don't like this. And then I was like, you know what? Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to turn the show off for a little while.
Was there something like, did and you didn't smoke anything and you weren't drinking
No,
anything?
no,
it
it wasn't.
all like
No,
very natural.
Yeah, no, I'm not. This is not substance related at all. This is just funny television.
That's great.
And what was so great about it is there are these little memes, like I said, I've seen on Twitter. Some of them I didn't even realize were from the show. Like I just like Anthony Carboni, who you and I both know, and you know have worked with in the past. He had shared something. I just remember it was him that shared it. It was some meme on Twitter the other day. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, huh, yeah, I guess I kind of get that that's funny. And it's like, I didn't know what I was talking about. Like I for sure did not understand the meme because it was in a skit that I hadn't seen yet. And it was so ridiculous that I would have no way of knowing. So I feel like I'm a little bit tapped in on woke.
Oh man, I want to be tapped in
the woke life a little bit when it comes to programming.
Culture.
Anyway, it's good stuff. It's definitely profane. So, you know, probably don't sit down and watch this with kids, but
or your
but
grandma.
otherwise, yeah, or just yourself. If you're like, yeah, that's not really my thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely profane. But otherwise, it's a really good time.
I am definitely going to check this out.
Please do and report back. Thank you.
I will.
The other show, and I won't spend a lot of time on this because it is definitely in the reality TV genre, which, you know, I will watch literally anything, except that there are certain reality shows that I start and I'm like, nah, it's not for me. Like everyone loves Below Deck. I don't watch Below Deck. It's just not one of my reality shows, but it's very, very popular, you know, to each their own. So a friend of mine the other day was like, oh my gosh, Sarah, you of all people should be watching a show called My Unorthodox Life. Are you watching? And I said, no, never even heard of it. So it's all about this woman. It's a reality show. I mean, she's a real person who is now running like elite models management group and formerly was like the CEO of La Perla lingerie and has a shoe line. Successful businesswoman in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
And she was formerly an Orthodox Jewish sect. I don't exactly remember which one because there are more than one. Living in New York and, you know, super... very, 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 you know, a fundamentalist life.
Yeah.
And I don't know that much about the Orthodox Jewish way of life. I know kind of the basics of certain, you know, this is, you know, belief system and what some of us would consider restrictions, you know, that sort of thing. But that all pertain to a belief system and all that good stuff. So no judgment on any of that from me. But her whole thing on the show is I didn't like that life at all. It took me a while to get out of that. And now I'm like totally on the other side of the spectrum because I've sort of escaped. So I am now unorthodox kind of thing. So hence the show name. And it's really like the show isn't very interesting in my opinion. It's kind of just about a rich family and they talk about like, oh, and here's this other thing that we can do because we're not Orthodox anymore kind of thing. So it's like, okay, it's a little bit like we've got the common thread of like every episode, but it's kind of just like people like sitting down, like eating lunch and like fighting with each other. But one thing that I did learn about this woman. Her name is Julia Hart. It's not her real name, but it's now, you know, the name that she has. Her life was, she kept talking about this place called Muncie. And it was like, you know, that's where, you know, when I was Orthodox, it's where I lived, you know, that's where I got out of. But like her kids, she has multiple children and like they all lived there too. This all happened like well after she had kids who had like grown up this way. So that's kind of an interesting twist. Muncie, and everyone kept talking about it. And I looked it up, and it is an area, like a hamlet, I guess, outside New York City, not far outside New York City. I think Rockland County, if I'm not mistaken. Anybody who knows New York better than me, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But it is I mean, it doesn't, you don't, there's no like law that says that you have to be Orthodox Jew to live there, but that's pretty much the population. It's like something like, I think the last census was like 25,000 people. It's big. I mean, that's
pretty
a,
big.
you know, it's a large town, right? Large town, small city, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is, you know, very, not rural. It's definitely suburban, but not far from the city. And, you know, outside of New York City itself, I believe it is the largest, you know, Orthodox Jew population in one place, that comprises of several different denominations. Isn't the word? I don't know if sex is the word, but I think that is the way you say it. I don't know. Religion is not my strong suit. But anyway, it is this area that just exists.
That's a
And
trip.
it was actually in the news a couple of years ago for not a great reason. There was, you know, like a hate crime that happened there, which I probably had heard about, but it had not registered that it was where it was. But that's not the point of this, and that's not what the show addresses. It's the show kind of addresses the fact that it's like, yeah, I mean, you go back there and it's kind of that's the life, you know, and like the high school is a certain way, and the markets are, you know, the kosher markets are a certain way, and there's you do and you don't, you hang out with people and you don't do the other stuff, and this is how life is. And then, you know, you leave Muncie and then that's the rest of the world, you know. And the fact that New York City, I mean, of all cities, is just right there, is you know, and is, I mean, as wild as you want to get, is so fascinating to me. So I'm not going to say I recommend the show. This is a reality show. You watch it if you want. It's not very good, but
But I'm
you do
intrigued.
end up learning. Even this stupid show, it's kind of one of my, these are like background shows for me, where I'm
Sure.
like, I'm in the kitchen cooking, so I'm going to be like turning my back and not really watching half the time.
Those are useful.
And so, yeah, like there's certain shows you can't do that with. You know, you kind of, you want to sit down and absorb it. This is not one of those shows, at least for me.
Okay, good to
But I
know.
did get something out of it, so all was not lost.
Awesome. Yeah, I just watched a Jewish. It's funny. I watched a really funny Jewish, kind of a dark comedy. Is a movie. It was called Shiva. I got to tell you what this is because this was quite funny. Oh man, it was called Shiva Baby, and it's from 2020. I think you would like it, Sarah. The lead actress is great, and it is kind of it's definitely a dark comedy. I would love for you to check it out because I laughed really hard. I
Okay.
thought it was really great.
I'm familiar with the title. I didn't know anything about it, but like I've seen that, you know, somebody, I don't know, reviewed it somewhere. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a sweet.
or I heard about it maybe on NPR or something.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny little gem. I had never heard of it, and it was a great watch. But gosh, I mean, wow. I mean, I've brought this up a lot on the show about the various things that I forget these days and why maybe I'm forgetting certain things and not others. And you know, part of it is maybe aging and pandemic life and I don't know, maybe having too much on my plate kind of thing. But I came across this interesting study that was done on the Wall Street Journal that apparently the average person misplaces 9 things a day and spends an average of 15 minutes every day looking for a lost item. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of a lot. Like, I'm a little surprised by that. Could have been dated a little while ago, maybe within the last 5 years. But, you know, the scientist was basically saying like everyday forgetfulness is apparently pretty normal because sometimes, like, for example, this last week, I have mentioned to you guys that I have this tennis elbow. It's like a tendonitis kind of thing. I haven't been diagnosed with it. It's just like I know that it's either one of those two things because it matches all the symptoms that I've talked to people about and whatever. So I got a brace, like it's an elbow brace. It's just like a little strap that you put over your forearm. You can get it at CVS. Of course, it was weird. I went to all of the drugstores in the area and like there were only extra larges left. And it was kind of annoying, actually. I stumbled upon one that was like a medium. It happened to work. But within, no joke, 12 hours, maybe even 8, I lost it. It was gone. Gone. And I wore it once and I was like, this is great. Because everyone's recommending this arm thing. And I'm like, okay, I should have gotten this 2 months ago because, you know, it's been hurting. And so I'm like, I can't believe I lost this thing already. I just bought it. And there was only one left in my size in the whole county. And so I just was like, I can't, what is wrong with me? Like, and in the meantime, I lose my keys or don't know where they are daily. I lose my phone, and part of it I think is because I live in a bigger house, and so maybe if I left my phone in the art studio, which is all the way across on the other side, I get it. Like that's a huge part of it. But I never used to be that person ever. I was like the totally organized, never broke sunglasses, never lost my keys. Maybe I occasionally like locked my keys in the car. I mean, that has happened, but I really feel like I've usually been pretty buttoned up and aware of my things. And I have never experienced such a just holes in my memory. It's insane. And I think a lot of it, I mean, it could be like the ADHD thing, which we all have a little bit of. And this has cropped up in the last year or two. So it kind of makes sense because I think we've all at least developed some form of ADHD because of the internet and not reading books as much anymore and multitasking and all that. But I am so disappointed. I miss the way I used to be. So I order another elbow brace that was highly rated. I think I had looked on Wirecutter or something like that. And it was actually just like a sort of a mom and pop business that sells all kinds of braces. It was a different type of brace. And so I was like, well, let me just try something else because I can't find that other one now. And I didn't want to wait for Amazon, which funnily enough, I pay for Prime and I often don't get things for like 7 days. So I was better off buying from this smaller company that had like a 2-day shipping, and I think I had to pay $2, but big deal. I'd rather get it in 2 days. And so I get this other brace and I'm pumped, I'm like, finally I get to wear this brace again. The pain goes away because it does help. And no joke, not even kidding, I lost it within 4 hours. Gone, just disappeared off the face of the earth. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, seriously, something is wrong with me. Like, how do I lose 2 within, less than 24 hours of when I purchased it or received it? And so I'm like tearing the house apart. I look everywhere, nowhere, in my car, on the ground, nowhere, can't find it. I'm about to buy another one. And that same day, I found it stuck in a sweater, which is what I should have thought of in the beginning. But my point here is that there's a lot on my mind, too much on the brain. I'm managing 2 lives right now, currently. I'm going through my dad's estate. We all know this. But I'm trying to manage my life too, because I got stuff. I'm in the midst of kind of finishing his taxes. And I think I have to blame all that's kind of fluttering around me. I just have to. I don't think I have early onset Alzheimer's here. I probably have a little dose of ADHD, but I'm gonna put the blame on doing too much.
ADHD is, hyperactive disorder. It's like something that is diagnosed. I don't know if misplacing
or ADD,
things
maybe
is
ADD.
Well, attention deficit. It's like, maybe you have a disorder, but I think it sounds like enough of us are misplacing things pretty regularly. So it's like there might just sort of be, we're all just juggling a lot of stuff, and our brains are like, I don't know, something had to go.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing is I'm trying not to be hard on myself because truly your brain can only fit so much, and I'm pulling in a lot of new learning and new kind of information. New stuff. And so I'm expanding my brain in a lot of ways. But I would like to hear from you guys. I'm sure that many of you can relate to me on many levels. So please share your stories. Email us at hi@havesuchagaday.com, or you can always post to the Patreon board where our show, when the show posts, you can actually write in some comments, or you could even jump into our Discord. It's only $5 a month at that $5 level, and we'll send you a code. You can jump in, you can talk about it in there with everybody because we have such an amazing crew in there. And speaking of, I wanted to just throw in one last thing because I think it was about a week ago. We had talked about this earworm thing. Sarah had brought up that she had heard from somebody that if you listen to the full song, the brain sort of it basically says that your mind is trying to finish the song but can't remember all the lyrics. So when you play the full song, you let your brain hear it to the end, and it will usually cure the earworm thing. Well, one of our patrons slash Discorders wrote in Kat. Hi, Kat. Thank you for bringing this up. And she basically confirmed that, that's what she heard too. So I tried it because remember the song that I terribly sang? I guess it was last episode. I'm a terrible singer. The chilly winds may blow, the chilly winds, they come and they go. I actually listened to the real song. It's by the Osmonds. It's from like 1973 or something. And it helped. It really, by golly, it worked. Kat, thank you. Because it has been in my head like all week. And I feel like it kind of cleared it out. It was sort of like a squeegee to the brain, if you will. So highly recommend that. Thanks again for letting us know and taking away a little bit of our craziness.
I will just say that I also performed the same experiment. I had mentioned a song. It wasn't even a song. It was kind of like just bits and pieces of this album by this artist, Fisher Spooner, from an album that I just hadn't heard in a million years. And so I listened to it and then it was just like haunting me. But one song in particular, which is the first song, if you play the album front to back, it's the first song. And so I was starting to, we were kind of laughing about it in the last episode, but like, is it like, after a while, it's like, this is crazy, like I feel crazy,
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
do.
because even if I don't, it's not like 24/7 this is happening, but it just kept coming back where I'm like, why is this winning? Why can't I just expel? It's like, I don't want to be like thinking about this song in my head anymore. And so I was going to be in the car and I had some time and I was like, all right, listen to the fucking album again. And I did. And I'm still listening to the song in my head. So I feel like it is I think it was so stark because I hadn't heard any of this music in a really long time, but I actually knew all the music, but it had been like a solid, I don't know, 15 years since I'd even like thought about it. And then when I heard the album the second time, it was less of like a, whoa, oh yeah, this song. Because I'm like, well, I did just hear this like a week ago. And so I feel like, okay, I'm not going to go insane. It's gonna work its way out, but it still hasn't yet. I woke up with that song in my head when I got up today.
The brain works in mysterious ways. Seriously.
Does.
I mean, gosh, all the mysteries of the universe. It's
well, I know we when we joke and anybody who like has ADD or ADHD or OCD, it's like, I know it's probably annoying when people joke about it, but I do really think, and I'm not a doctor, so, grain of salt, but I do really think it's like, I'm not sure I have a compulsive disorder, but the music thing is some sort of obsessive thing that is inside me. Is it a disorder or is it just like, I don't know, something that I notice and I let it bother me more than it bothers other people? Don't know. But there is, I would call that an obsession of some kind. Not debilitating. I can still work and go about my life, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. Remember that, patrons. It always could be worse.
It could be worse. Well, Heather, I don't know about you, but I feel better already.
Oh, definitely.
It's been a great show, and we're at episode 109, and you know what that means. Next week is episode 110, and you know what that means. The next episode is 111, which is a palindrome episode, everybody. Woo! We are 2 weeks away. How about that? Seems like just episode 101 we were talking about palindromes.
Time sure does fly, and I love how this show we can expel. That's a great word. I feel like we expel a lot.
The demons?
Yes, expel the demons. Get them out there
style.
because you don't want them to be stuck in your brain. So
That's right.
Listen to the show and we will help you with your demons.
It's like Otis throwing up a tennis ball. Just get it out. We know you want to. Just get it out. I don't know if vomit is the answer for you. I hope it isn't, but I don't know. But yeah, just we're gonna help you sweat it out. Right?
Yes,
sweat to the Osmonds if you must.
Listen to that song too, because it's a really fun little song. I mean, you can see how it got stuck in my head for 2 weeks.
I'll get right on that one.
Yeah,
Heather.
do that, Sarah. All right.
Right on. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for listening. We will be back doing it all again next week. Until then, I will remain Sarah.
And I will be Heather forever.
Have such a good day.